because he can't. Because he can't do the show. Listen, he was in dress rehearsal. You're going to have to ask Danny to go ahead and do the opening. Belushi is just not ready.
Mr. Michaels.
Yeah, 1 second, please. Okay?
I understand.
I can't put him in the show.
Well, now you...
All right, guys, we're jumping right on this. It's still the state's exhibit list. More items. Interesting stuff here. Okay, let's go through some of this. Major crime prints. Okay, Kaylee. Swab from Jack DeCour. All right. DNA swab Bethany. DNA swab Dylan. DNA swabs. Finger, hand, face marks outside kitchen window. Right? King Road. Stain swab bottom handrail between first and second floor. This is all the DNA that didn't match Brian, and Moscow just decided not to do anything with it. Yeah, stain swabs. Top edge of half wall, second floor. Stain swabs, floor near inside doorway of second floor bedroom. Oh, it gets much, much better. King Road, stain swabs, objects from second floor bedroom. Okay. All right, here we go. Cigarette butt, Jose Cruz. Cigarette butt, Jose Cruz. Yeah. DNA swab, Showalter. DNA swab, Barenberg. Cole, the idiot who got kicked out of the corner club for spitting on girls. Remember that guy? DNA extract, Showalter and Cole. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, this is Showalter's apartment, 500 Queen Road. Blood swab, shower curtain. Remember blood in Showalter's apartment? 500 Queen Road, blood swab, west wall entering the living room. Remember blood in his goddamn apartment? Swab, Jeremy Reagan. Swab, Cohen. Swab, Derek. All these fucking people, Patrick, Courage Alorbru, James Deskins, Henry Clark. These are all the alternative suspects. Most of them, right? Well, obviously, why are we taking their swabs? Right? These are all the alternative suspects in this case. Well, a lot of them. Ken Anderson, Donald McDonald. Where is GM? I want to see if there's a GM in here. A GM. Remember little G, the psycho? Donald McDonald, Mason Barstow, Reed Upsmore. These are all swabs taken from suspects, guys. They're prints taken from Dylan. Yeah, these are your suspects. Okay. Yeah. Cole, Showalter, DeCour, Jose Cruz, cigarette butts. These are all your alternatives. And what did Moscow do with this DNA? They didn't do the exact same thing they did with Brian Koberger's DNA, did they? Moscow Police, Idaho State Police, FBI. And this is where we get into DNA swab of the K-bar sheath, the prop. Probably. DNA swab back at K-bar sheath. Where they did find blood on the sheath, by the way, that didn't match Brian Koberger. All right, more DNA extracts. A lot of these DNA extracts got ruined due to Moscow police corruption when their refrigerator broke down for the entire night. So those DNA extracts were completely ruined. And much more was ruined. Extracts, Corner Club receipts. We got Corner Club video that supposedly didn't exist. We're not doxing anybody. Right, Moscow police. What else we got? Hang on, guys. What else we got? All kinds of stuff. Well, this is all their exhibits, right? States exhibits. Post Falls Police Department hard drive, laptop, iPad extractions from devices taken from the King Road residence. We saw that in the documents. More DNA extracts from Cole Barenberg. That's because his DNA was found at the crime scene. That's only one we know of. There's more people that they know they found DNA there. For sure. But again, they didn't go to the same lengths that they did to with the IGG for Brian. Why not? Moscow Police, Jack Decor phone records. Oh man, there's so much we got to see here. There's so much we got to see here. They got to release all this. I want to see Dylan's entire phone history from that night, Bethany's entire phone history from that night, Jack Decor's entire phone history from that, Showalter, so on and so on. Amanda Koberger interview. Yes, they did interview his family. Of course, we know that. What else we got? All kinds of nice stuff here, right, guys? Palm prints. What else? What else do we got? Print exemplars from Dylan again. Print exemplars from all the people, some that were at the house. Connor Chestnut. Oh. Connor Chestnut. Interesting, weird names in Idaho, by the way. Connor Chestnut. Connor Chestnut. Hey, there's those vegan supplements that we couldn't find for 3 years, and then we bought off of Amazon Prime. Right, Moscow Police? Huh? Digital prints, Bethany Funk. Yeah, 28 pages. These are all the state's exhibits. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to use all of these at the trial, but this is all they had ready to go in terms of their exhibits. Okay, this is one you have to kind of look over a bunch of times. Yes, you're going to miss a lot. Thank you, my garden. You're going to miss a ton here. And it just shows you how incompetent Moscow was in terms of not analyzing the DNA thoroughly, because they find multiple DNA samples at the crime scene that do not match the victims or the roommates or Brian Koberger, that they totally disregarded and didn't do anything with. Oh. Yup and yup and yup. Oh, yeah. All kinds of video here, we know. 1125. Wait a minute, let's back up. 1125 Ridge Road video camera. Yeah, okay. 408, 329. Notice how nothing starts at 1 a.m. Notice how I'm looking through the camera stuff here. You notice how a lot of it doesn't start in Moscow until 3 to 4. We got to see the Corner Club stuff. We got to get that released. I want to know who was at the Corner Club. I want to see the incident with Cole Barenberg spitting on people, spitting on girls, grabbing their asses, getting kicked out of the Corner Club. Remember that? I want to see that footage. Why is his DNA at the crime scene? Moscow Police. All right, guys. Wake up. Wake up, people in denial. Wake up. Yep, sheath swabs, sheath front. The fake, well, I'm not gonna go there yet. I know they bought a prop off of Amazon Prime, and I know they bought a K-bar knife off of Amazon Prime, Moscow Police, as props, quote unquote props for your trial. They also showed that at the grand jury, those props. Didn't ya? Yeah. All kinds of stuff here, guys. And no, I'm not doxing people. Not like Moscow Police. All right. Yeah, footprints that are useless because we can't tell exactly the accurate footprint when the snow melts. Morons. Uh-huh. Yep. Oh, sorry, guys. Hang on. Yeah, 4:08. That's the length of the audio. That's the length of the 911 call, guys. It's not 4:08 a.m. Or it would say a.m. like every other thing on here. Let's see. See, nothing. Look at guys. Nothing starts. They don't collect any camera footage that starts at 1 a.m. to like 3:30. Everything is after this point here. Look at that. You notice that pattern here. There's no video that they wanted to show from 1 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. There's no video they wanted to show at trial on the prosecution side here. Look, there's none. There at least none that I've seen. Another piece I want to show you in this document. Of course, we want to see Jack DeCour's phone record. And, of course, we want to see that, his text messaging history. But there's another piece here, guys, I want to show you real quick. And I want to jump to something else here in the documents. All right, where is it now? Where is it? We're getting there. Where are you? Yeah, Hunter Johnson fingerprint. Of course, Dylan again fingerprints. K-bar knife and sheath sample. Grand jury exhibit. All right, grand jury exhibits here. K-bar knife and sheath sample. Grand jury exhibit. Sample. Sample. Huh? Now let me see here. All the fingerprints they're lifting from the kitchen. Remember, that's Maddie, I believe. Now, I don't know, could be wrong, but that's a theory. There's another piece here I want to show you. All the blood swabs, well, not all of them, but from these areas, second floor, living room, smear on table. Huh? Upper floor banister. Yep, because there was a struggle that happened in the kitchen and in the living room. Right, Dylan Mortensen? You fucking... You should be in jail with Bethany. Okay, but there's something else here, guys. Yeah, right here. DNA swabs, finger, hand, face marks. But there's also blood here in the kitchen. Blood in the kitchen. I'm trying to find it here, guys. Yeah. Anyway, it's in here. Sorry. There are blood spots in the kitchen and prints in the kitchen. We know that. All right, let's move on. Kathy's Indie Zone pointed this out before. Quinn Kelly is on the state's witness list. Quinn Kelly is on that list to be called as a witness, even though supposedly he was never at the scene. Remember that? Huh? Yeah. All kinds of names on here. You know what name I don't see on here? Ronald Cruz. Where's Mr. Cruz? And his cigarette butts. He's not on here. Where is Cole Barenberg? Let's see if Cole Barenberg is on here. Is he? Yeah, he's on there. Good luck calling him. You would never call Cole Barenberg, you idiot state. You stupid Idaho. His DNA was found at the crime scene. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I would love to hear Showalter up there. Dylan, Bethany, Showalter on the stand. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Yeah, that would have been an absolute field day there. Funk's on the witness list. She was probably shaking her fucking little boots. I ain't going back there and testifying. Jack DeCour better be on there. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, let's see who else. There's Rosinski. He's on there. No Rosendahl, though. There's Rosendahl. We got Rosinski. Where's Rosendahl? Oh, he ain't on there. Weird. Anyway, let's carry on. We're going to look at this as a new one, too. So this is Exhibit E, Defendant's Fifth Supplement. Right. This is a new one that also is released. We know this, guys. Transcripts obtained by defense. Blaker interviews with Bethany Chapin, Hunter Chapin, and Ava Wood. Snyder, Professor Snyder, all these people, Flavio Alvarez, Coe, Aubrey Scott, Eller, Bethany Funk interview with Rich Batanti. I really want to hear that one. Now, I don't know if that's the one that took place in Nevada. I think it is. Yeah. So that's another one that was just unsealed. Let's keep going. All right, guys, I want to show you part of this. This is this is defendant's trial brief. This is another one that was just unsealed. This is kind of laying out their what they are going to do somewhat here. There are objections to certain things that have already taken place before this happened. The question you got to ask yourself again is, why didn't this go to trial when the defense had a very, very strong case? Why didn't it go to trial? Something happened. We'll get there. And no, I don't believe it happened over a couple days in July. Absolutely not. I believe that the plea deal was already being worked on as early as, let me say, May of 2025. I believe the plea deal was already being worked on in May. But we'll get there. That's just my opinion right now. So no, it just didn't occur over a 2-day period. Okay, no. This was already in the works, I believe, starting in May. Anyway. This is some of the things that the defense are highlighting that they're going to, they will object to if it's brought up in trials, so on and so on. Terms such as psychopath, sociopath, inconclusive data. This is interesting. I'm going to read this. Now, this is for one reference point here. Inconclusive data about the statistical analysis of item 13.1, fingernail scrapings, is the subject of defendant's motion limiting number 5, inconclusive data. Kohlberger has now reviewed the state's newest expert disclosure, and based on the work of both the state's expert and his own, he has been excluded as a source of DNA, right? That's from the fingernail clippings. Testimony about that lab testing must comport with both experts reviewing the sample and opining. Mr. Kohlberger is excluded. He was. And on everything, essentially. Except. Mr. Kohlberger understands the state's position to now be that the evidence does in fact exclude Kohlberger as a source of any DNA in sample 13.1. Testimony contrary to that definitely would violate, like everything else that violated his federal and state constitutional rights to due process, fair trial, and would be false testimony, perjury, so on. Touch or contact DNA. Testimony of Rylene Nolan, and any testimony referencing the terms touch or contact DNA, or that purports to be an opinion of the means or mechanism for DNA being placed on the sheath by any witness called to testify about DNA, that was the subject of defense motion limiting number 6. Rylene Nolan and reference to touch contact DNA. Transfer. Something like that. Mr. Kohlberger sought to exclude any use of the language touch and contact in the context of the DNA testing of the sheath, and any opinion of how and when the DNA on the sheath was deposited. Right, because you're not going to know that, and you can't testify to that. While the court did not enter an order excluding the language, thanks Hitler, you bastard. Again, silver stake and buried in a root cellar is where you belong, my friend, in Salem's Lot. The court's suggestion that it should not be used to avoid confusion and prejudice to Mr. Kohlberger is well taken. His objection will be lodged during trial should the issue of the phrase come up. And here's Dylan's little stupid masquerade. Bushy eyebrows, along with Moscow police priming her. Witness identification by bushy eyebrows is subject of defendant's motion limiting number 7. Witness identification by bushy eyebrows. Mr. Kohlberger sought to bar witness Dylan from using the words bushy eyebrows because she's a psychopath. And remember, she doesn't remember anything, what was a dream and what was real. Or identifying him in that manner. Absolutely. He also sought to keep the state from acting as an identifying witness by attempting to bolster Dillon's testimony with a photo of Mr. Koberger. That's also called priming. See, they were going to try to prime the jury as well. You evil, evil man, evil Santa Claus Thompson. Hey, guess where you belong? You belong in the same root cellar with a silver stake through your heart, lying right next to fucking Vampire Hitler in Salem's Lot, also called Jerusalem's Lot. Anyway, taking the morning of November 13th and arguing, remember, they're going to use that photo of him taken right outside his shower. Remember that? They were going to use that. And arguing that is their interpretation that the bushy eyebrows described by Dillon, our prime suspect, are consistent with those in the photo. Ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous what the prosecution was going to try to do here with that. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. 404B evidence. That goes on. Unnoticed evidence. Not to mention 2014 cell phone incident during trial. I don't know what that is. In response to the defendant's motion to eliminate 8, the state has advised the court and counsel that it intends to comply with the application of the Idaho Rules of Evidence in regard to any proposed 404B. Additionally, in a sealed stipulation, the parties agreed not to mention a 2014 cell phone incident during trial. What is that? 2014 cell phone incident during trial. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's when his father turned him in because Koberger stole his sister's cell phone in 2014. Yeah, that's what the state was trying to do. Yeah. Oh, right. I'm sorry. He goes on to tell us what it is. Yeah, so that's what he did. He tried to exchange it for money. His father called police, the end result of which was a minor theft charge that was later expunged. Right, because he was underage. Or something like that. And no, he wasn't underage. It was expunged. Okay. Yeah. So, yep. Okay. Okay. Amazon click activity. Excluding Amazon evidence, purchase history, and Amazon click activity was the subject of defense motion in limine number 9. The state's methodology in obtaining, using, and producing Amazon evidence has called into question by Mr. Koberger, who contends that this evidence should be excluded. To the extent the court allows the evidence, Mr. Koberger must be able to present expert testimony of David Howell to provide a complete defense. Based on the court's ruling that this evidence will not be excluded at this point, Koberger will confront the evidence through expert testimony of David Howell. Again, we were ready to rock and roll, babies. And Ann Taylor, I hope you gave up your law license, you fucking you're just as bad as the rest of them. He will also object to any expert opinion testimony by Shane Cox or Agent Douglas, as the state claims they are lay witnesses and not experts. Correct. They are lay witnesses. IGG. This gets a little funny. Yes, they did come up with a bargain. They made a devil's bargain with each other about the IGG evidence, both the state and defense. They came up with a devil's bargain. Huh? Yep. Mr. Koberger learned of undisclosed discovery during the suppression hearing and was refused access. As such, Mr. Koberger contends that the IGG evidence should be excluded because he could not fully understand and litigate the issues because they didn't tell him, right? That's what the prosecution did throughout this entire case. They kept discovery. They withheld discovery. And that was going on all the way up and through, I believe, June of 2025. They were still withholding discovery. People in denial. 59 terabytes of unorganized data. That's what Bill Thompson was trying to pull, that motherfucker, in this case. You corrupt sons of bitches out there in Idaho. You're all corrupt, Moscow. Yeah. How are you going to have a proper defense if we're withholding discovery 3 years after the fact? You corrupt, evil sons of bitches. Moscow, I hope to God, first of all, you should not have a police department. Bill Thompson needs to be fully investigated over the past 30 years into his conduct, as lead prosecutor for Moscow, Idaho, or wherever the fuck he worked, wherever else he was. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting what they tried to do here. Yeah, both sides are working towards an agreed-upon special jury instruction on the tip evidence to avoid speculation by the jury as to the source and nature of the tip. That's in another document. Yes, and that was ridiculous. We'll get there. Vehicle identification. Sought to exclude this evidence pursuant to the rules of evidence based on his federal and state rights. His motion was not directed at the testimony of Special Agent Emall, but rather to exclude the state from arguing and other witnesses from saying that all depictions of vehicles were the same vehicle. Correct, because you can't. You cannot say it was the same car. There's no way to identify that as the same vehicle. None. Based on the court's questioning, Mr. Koger must be able to explore with Emall the year range he was most comfortable with based on the 1125 Ridge Road footage, which videos allowed. Remember, Special Agent Emall fucked up the range of the car, the year of the car. He screwed up here. And remember, they expanded the year range because when they decided that Brian was guilty, that's when Special Agent Emall expanded the year range. That's what they did. That's what they tried to pull here. Which videos allowed identification of makes and models, and which videos caused him to focus on 2014, 2016. Correct. The actual evidence provides a less clear trail, and Koberger, in exercising his confrontation rights, must be allowed to explore that. Oh yeah. Autism spectrum disorder, statistical analysis, the state has agreed that they will not elicit testimony attempting to relate the likelihood ratio for the DNA on the sheath to the world population. Yeah. They were not going to use that testimony, guys. So, there's going to be no likelihood ratio for the DNA on the sheath to the world at large. And again, the question you have to ask yourself, why didn't this go to trial, Ann Taylor? You son of a cunt. I'm sorry, that's in the English vernacular. That comes from the London Underground, my loves. You son of a cunt. Ann Taylor, you need to surrender your law license for selling out your client. You sold your client out. You goddamn cunt. Sorry, guys. She should not be practicing law anymore. She sold Brian Koberger up the river. Oh, the recording and transcript of the 911 call to Whitcomb on the 13th was the subject of the sealed state's motion in limine regarding the 911 call. Relying on exceptions to the hearsay rule and effect on listener, the state seeks the admission of both the transcript and the recording. Based on his constitutional rights, Mr. Koberger objects to the admission of the transcript and the recording. Alibi. Yep. Okay, that goes on. Right, they were trying to force him. What the state was trying to do is they were trying to bully. They were trying to bully, essentially, Koberger into either providing an alibi or to testify on his behalf. And no, he's not. He of course, that's a constitutional right to remain silent. But this is what Evil Thompson and fucking Ashley. Oh, your face. Your face. Yeah, that's what they were trying to do here with this. Those corrupt sons of bitches. Now remember, let's think about this. What if Koberger had Karen Reed's defense team? They would have fucking chewed these fucking redneck scumbag incestuous fucking pricks out of the water. These goddamn corrupt corn fuckers. These Idaho potatoes. These rotten potatoes. All inbred fucks. You inbred fucks. Alternative perpetrator. Yeah, we know what Hitler did with that. They were going to confront them. They were going to confront some of the state's witnesses through cross-examination of law enforcement and investigative work. Well, that's because Hitler ruled against the defense on that, so they had no other way of tacking that information. Remember the dollhouse? Yep, that's another point of conflict here. Stupid Ashley Jennings and her stupid dollhouse exhibit. Misleading to the jury. Absolutely, because they raised the house to the ground before it went to trial. Family in the courtroom. We can't wear T-shirts that say, shoot Brian Koberger in the face with a firing squad. No, Steve G. You idiot. So on and so on and so on. Death penalty. Self-authenticating records. Yeah, after expending extensive time responding to the state's extensive request for self-authentication of records, the state abandoned nearly half of its requests. It did. The court noted the motion was not ready for hearing. Right? Mr. Koberger will make objections and motions as like. This is the case that the prosecution had. They didn't have a case. They didn't. Text message and testimony. Text messages, Dylan. Okay, we're gonna leave it here. Text messages, Dylan, on the 13th, the testimony of Dylan and Bethany regarding their conversation with each other on the 13th, are the subject of the sealed state's motion in limine text message and testimony. Koberger contends that the way in which the state proposes using the text messages and testimony presents an incomplete picture. It sure as hell does. Koberger has urged the court to view the state's request with consideration of the complete scope of conversations and cellular phone activity and deny the state's motion. AT&T, this is Cy Ray. Mr. Koberger has been provided with different explanations by the state regarding the existence of these records throughout the course of his case, including sworn testimony in May of 2024 by Pain in My Ass, that little bald midget. Mr. Koberger has offered testimony relating to these records based on the explanations presented by the state. The current defense affidavit presented at the time of the in limine hearing is one with more detail, absolutely, and based on the shifting state explanations, otherwise known as lying, otherwise known as perjuring. Mr. Koberger has worked with an expert with hands-on experience about timing advance records, Cy Ray. He was not allowed to testify and explain what he knew about methods officers used in obtaining the timing advance records. Fuck you, Vampire Hitler. You should no longer be a judge. You should be stripped of all your judicial powers, and you also should be thoroughly investigated. Mr. Koberger understands his ability to question the FBI agent balance outside the presence of the jury. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that nice what Judge Hitler did there with that? Calling Cy Ray a conspiracy theorist. Remember that, guys. Remember Judge Hitler. And this is what I railed against 5 months ago when I was railing and saying, you got to get this fucking judge off this case. He is as corrupt as the rest of these fucking people. But the defense never attempted to get him removed. Never. Big mistake. Ann Taylor. Boo-hoo. So what, your fucking mom died? You got somebody facing the firing squad. You need to hand in your law license, you corrupt cunt. Yeah, that's how I feel about Ann Taylor and the rest of these scumbags in Idaho. They're all scumbags. They are. Scumbags. Inbred corn fuckers. Inbred potato fuckers. That's what they are. They're all living in a fairy tale. Fairy world. Anyway, this goes on and on. We'll keep going. But yeah, I want to leave it right there. I want to tell that more documents here. I hope you like that one, my lovelies, lows, lads, and dudes. Hey, hope you're having a beautiful rest of your weekend. Again, I hope the weather is gorgeous for you. Yeah, there's so much here, guys. There is so much corruption and shadiness. And, well, we already know this, right? But, man, when more stuff gets unsealed, guess what happens? The less it points to Brian Kohlberger, doesn't it? Absolutely. And the question again is, why didn't this go to trial? We'll get there, my loves. We'll get there. I love you, babies. Okay, bye-bye.